Hey guys, WB here with Third Act Stories, and today I'm actually going to have a list of bullet points, so I've got notes. I don't normally do notes. I speak very extemporaneously, which is a new word that I just made up, and I've copywritten it. Different than copywriting it. Copywriting it is the actual act of writing it, but copywritten it means I own it legally, so you can't take it. Anyway, just a joke. You can use it all you want. So today is an adults-only discussion because we're going to be talking about elbows and eyelids. So you got to make sure the kiddies aren't in the room. So dating after 60 in the third act, you know, it's gotten more and more complex. I think even for people who are younger, it's gotten more complex. But I think us guys and ladies in our third act have a lot of things that we deal with that I think is worth mentioning. Things that I've learned and maybe things that y'all have learned too. So I'm maybe just repeating it. But, you know, one of the things you learn in your third act is the way to win the dating game. And this is important. The way to win the dating game is to meet somebody in high school, marry them in college, live a long life with them, have ups and downs, but stick with them, have a great relationship, learn about each other, you know, have kids, hopefully grandkids by now that all want to see you. That's how you win the game. Now, I had a pretty good run at it, but, you know, I say I'm a single guy. I had a buddy of mine slap me upside the head, which a lot of my buddies like to do because it's a personal thing that I appreciate, and they know that. He said, "You know what? You're not single." I said, "Well, I'm not married, but I do have a very affectionate, lovely, respectful girlfriend that I spend my time with. And I'm very lucky. She's a great cook. She has all the wonderful things that you would want to have in a female companion. And she doesn't want anything from me except my appreciation and my respect, which is bullet point number 1, appreciation and respect. I think it's whoever you're with, whether it's a dating relationship or a relationship with a friend or co-workers, if you're still working in your third act, it's important to respect each other and to appreciate each other. And women out there and guys, we talk differently about both of those things. For guys and women, you need to listen to this. You need to occasionally sit them down and say to them, "I respect you. I appreciate you." Guys, if you just sit a woman down and tell them that stuff, doesn't really mean anything. They want to see your actions that tell them that you appreciate them and that you respect them. You know, with the young lady that I'm going out with, she would come over to the house and she'd kick her shoes off and we'd sit and watch a movie and have popcorn and all this good stuff. And, you know, I noticed she'd get cold. And I don't like walking around I've got slate floors. I don't like walking around on slate floors barefoot. So what I did is I went out and bought her a nice fuzzy pair of house shoes. And that little thing meant a lot to her. It said that I was thinking about her and I cared about her experience in the world. And that got me a lot of points, I think. So it's important to show the people that you're around that you appreciate them. If they're females, if they're males, sit them down occasionally and say, "I respect you. I appreciate you." And that also means, you know, understanding where their boundaries are and communication. Boy, that's not even on the list. I'm putting it on the bullet point right now because communication is a big part of that. You've got to be able to communicate with each other. If you just sit there and expect someone to meet whatever needs you have, and you're not telling them, "Hey, I would like a little more affection. I like my time to be respected." In our 60s, in our third act, we all have things that we want to do and things that are important to us. So it's nice to be able to communicate to somebody, "Hey, this thing over here or this time or what I'm doing is important to me. and have the other person say, okay, I understand that's important to you and I'll respect that. If you just sit back and expect someone to read your mind, you're doomed. Absolutely doomed. And it's true. Women can't read men's minds and men can't read women's minds. You've got to be able to communicate. If you haven't learned that by now, well, all this is for nothing. Next thing, let's talk about looks. Guys, I'm guilty of this my entire life. I dated people who I thought looked good. They had, a certain look that I was just really attracted to. And, in my 60s, I still am very attracted to the young lady I go out with, and that's important to me. But you'll find out, and this is where the elbows and eyelids come in play, you'll find out, guys, all women, or most women, have elbows. Most women have beautiful eyes. Some women show them off more than others, but the ones who aren't showing it off, they've got great elbows and great eyes. Every girl is better looking than you are, guys. So don't be going out just because you're trying to find the one who's showing off the most. The girls who are using that as their currency, that their looks are their currency, will use it against you. They think that they've got something that you absolutely have to have, and they'll take whatever you've got to get it. Just be happy with the fact that you're finding a girl that you appreciate, that you get along with, that has similar likes to you and respects you and appreciates you. And another thing about looks, guys, you have to understand the pecking order of looks here. They're looking for confidence and competence. That means you're confident about who you are. You're able to walk up to them and start talking to them. You're not, freaked out by interpersonal interactions. You're competent, which means you can do things. You can take care of things. You've had a good career. You have some specialty you're good at. You're either a great manager, you're a great artist, or a great plumber, great construction guy, all those sorts of things. Maybe you ride horses great. It's important to be competent. One of the things that I think people like about James Bond is he can do everything. Right? He shows up, he can tango, he can fly a helicopter, he knows how to do all this stuff where you run and jump off of things and everything. And he doesn't seem to practice any of it. He's just competent. Well, he's a make-believe character, but a real person who's competent is very attractive. And as far as attraction goes and looks goes with guys, and this is going to sound unpleasant to people, but you have to understand that women see height and looks as the same thing. You can look like a horny toad and be tall, like me, and women don't know the difference. Or you can be less tall and really good looking, and it doesn't seem to make that big a difference. But both of those things are very low on the totem pole when it comes to competence and confidence. Those two things trump what you look like. I hope the algorithm doesn't get me for saying Trump. Anyway, those two things are more important than what your physical appearance is. That said, physical appearance is tied a lot to your physical health. If you've taken care of your body, your hygiene, you need to smell good, you need to have good breath, you need to dress nice. I'm not necessarily dressed nice today, but I'm just on TV. So in real life, I dress a lot better than this. But it's important to dress nice, take care of yourself, and look like you care about your physical health. If you're not physically healthy, a lot of things happen. Some of it's to no fault of our own. But if you're not physically healthy, you're not as much in the dating pool as someone who is. So be sure you get your physical health taken care of and make sure that you keep yourself nice and clean and tidy. Okay, so now we're talking about like values. And like values are things like, I don't know if I'm doing an ad for something here. I think I'm probably doing an ad for something, so we'll push that over here. Like values are really important because, everybody has a value. And I'm going to say values with an S and value singular. If you value, you like going to church, you value family, you value being at home and taking care of your house and being clean, and that's something that you really value, and the other person doesn't, they go, you go to church, I don't want to go to church. Your kids, I can't stand being around your kids. I'm dumping junk all over the place. Then guess what? You're not aligned in your values. And it's important to have somebody who is at least aligned on some basic things so that you're not running around trying to change them all the time, because you can't change people, especially in your third act. And you do not want to try to change people because it'll drive you crazy and it'll make them angry, which you don't want an angry, crazy person in your life. Trust me. So the next thing about likes and values is you have to understand what your value is and what the other person's value is. If you're going after somebody who thinks that they hung the moon, and here's an example of it. You go date a guy who says they own a bass boat and they've got a pool and all these wonderful things. They think that's of value, especially if they're telling you about it. Well, the first thing you know, they're going to say, hey, baby, why don't you come over and host a party with me? We'll do it like a couple. I think you're really great. Well, before you know it, you're serving hors d'oeuvres and handing out drinks and cleaning up after the thing without a thank you. The guy's got to value you, not, he's got money, he's got whatever. You got to look for someone who has an appreciation of you. And the same thing goes, guys, for women. You find a girl who, everything altered, pumped up, and inflated, and Botoxed, and bleached, or whatever. You got all that stuff going on. It looks great because they're showing it off. But they're doing that because, guess what? They think they have an intrinsic value because of the looks thing. And that whole looks thing will get you in trouble because guess what? Before you know it, they expect you to service them in ways that are financially expensive. So you got to be careful about that. You need to find people in your life who have maybe similar financial things. If you're both broke and poor, well, guess what? You might be great for each other. You've learned how to live on less than what the next person lives on, and you've got expectations that meet the same level of financial, acumen. The same thing goes for people who've got a lot of money. They've saved their money. You don't want to be in a situation where one person's looking at you as the money bag that you've got to provide for them the rest of their life. And when you're in your 60s, you'll find a lot of people, probably men and women, who are desperate to hook up, to get married and have some security. And it may not just be financial security. It might be things like emotional security. They don't feel comfortable in their own skin. They don't feel comfortable by themselves. They don't have interests of their own. It's very important to find somebody who's a complete person. And it's harder and harder to do. And guess what? This is another bullet point on our list here. It's better to be alone. It is so much better to be alone in your third act because you know who you are, you know what you like, and really value your own time and value your own beliefs and your own thoughts and your own endeavors, your own creative efforts, your own peace. Value that more than, oh gosh, I've got to have somebody. Having somebody will destroy your finances, your peace, yourself, your spirit. If you're not careful, if you don't align all these other things, you can screw your life up pretty bad, and you don't want to do that. Next thing on the list is sex. That's right, I said the dirty word here. As a Christian, I'm not going after that. That's not what my number one goal is. The reason that is because when you're having sex with somebody, you're making a promise to them. And if you haven't learned this by the time you're in your third act, well, you need to learn it quick. Because, you know what, by the time you're in your 60s, unless you're a wallflower, you've had a lot of sex. You've had many, many years of sex. And we grew up if you're born in the 60s, you grew up in the 70s, 80s, sex was all the thing. That was the only thing you saw on television. That was the only thing you saw in jeans ads. That's the only thing you saw in Coke commercials. I mean, it was just everywhere. That was the thing. And that drove a lot of our lives, and it drove a lot of our thinking. That's why we're all in such a mess, because that really doesn't fulfill you, because what you need to do is get a relationship going. That's the most, if you're wanting to have a partner in life, that's the thing you do. You try to get a good relationship, and you'll find out that great sex is great, but it's not exclusive to the first person you meet. You need to work on these other things before you do that. And again, for me, it's a promise. It's a soul tie. There's a lot of things that go into it that if you go chasing after that, it'll really mess your life up. Men, especially, first girl that wants to jump in the sack with them, they fall in love. And it isn't necessarily true that the woman's in love with you. You really need to take all that very seriously and be very cautious about it. Okay, that's my 2 cents on that. You know, and there's a lot of great things about dating in your 60s, in your third act. You've got a lot of people who've learned a lot in life, who've gotten a lot of experiences in their life, a lot of people who are financially successful and can take trips and go and do things with you, and that's great. There's a lot of fun things about dating in your 60s. It's not all, red flags and worrying about stuff. You just have to be careful about who you're dating. But if you find the right person, somebody that enjoys life and is a positive person and has worked through whatever traumas they've had in their life, they can add a lot of value to yours. And it's good to not be alone. You know, the good Lord says it's not good for man to be alone. So, if you can do it, don't be alone. But that said, don't be looking constantly to date. Be happy with who you are. Be happy with where you are. Enjoy the life that you've got. And, learn things, read, be creative. Make those central to your life. And before you know it, you'll attract friends, you'll attract other people of the opposite sex. They may find you attractive since you've got something going on in your life. All right. So anyway, those are some top level things about dating in your 60s that I've learned. I'm not an expert at it necessarily, but I've had some experiences with it. If you've had different experiences, be sure and comment about them. Y'all have a good one. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time on Third Act Stories.